Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with a playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4. Okay, well, I had that What Next episode, and it's real in the sense I'm really asking you guys for what to play next. But it's also sort of kind of meant to promote viewer participation in the channel too. Get your feedback on things to see what you're thinking, and get you talking a bit. Okay, and one of the suggestions, and I forget your name. One of the viewers is from Czechoslovakia. Wanted me to play Czechoslovakia, so that sort of intrigued me. So what I did was, I played through Czechoslovakia with Black Ice fairly quickly, and main thing I wanted to see was, even if sort of playing smartly, how well I could do against Germany. My personal play style is to play generally historically plausible, meaning I'm not, as democratic Czechoslovakia, going to try to take out the Hungarians and the Romanians or the Austrians and, do something sort of or go after Poland or some sort of thing, early on, to try to do something so unhistorical. Now, I might try to go, well, resist instead of give in to the Germans, or, do something different than history, but do something that's reasonably historic. I know most of you get that. So, now, I did, and so I don't think it's worth it to watch all of it, me replay and talk about all the episodes. So we are right here in October 38. Let's slow this down a little bit, and let's go. What is it here? I just loaded this to save. It's out of date. Oh, basically infantry troops here. We'll leave that. I don't need to spend more on fancier trucks. As you can see, I'm trying to play sort of smartly here. To me, there's no reason to hold this province out here, even though it is fortified. Oh, am I building all the forts like I thought I was? Okay, let me see here. Now, I don't know if this is a flaw in Black Ice, but some of these provinces that or is this a really sophisticated look at the Czech fortifications? And I don't know which, quite honestly. Some of these, you see just level 1 forts. I built those as opposed to the level 6 forts, and these. But I think there should be more forts along the border. So again, like I said, I think, because I don't know. But there's no reason to hold this province. I know the AI would try, but there's just not a good enough reason. You attack from too many places, so defend here. And notice I've moved in this mountain province, moved in some mountain troops, that kind of thing. Trying to hold, I'm trying to be sort of smart about this. What I want to do here is, and I don't know if I will be able to do this, I want to dislodge this Panzer Division, the 1st Panzer Division there. So I've got 2 of my Czech tank divisions, and no, I'm not going to try to pronounce the Czech. I converted them over so that we can build all the equipment there. They're weak, of course. But that would shore up shorter border as opposed to holding all of these provinces. That's a good thrusting in place here. And I put a couple of militia units holding out the flanks, but that's it. Speed this up a little more. Okay, and I noticed here, I'll read through this, the Munich Diktat. That's interesting. Of course, I always, the Munich conference and whatnot, but From the Czech point of view, that would be, I could see the Munich Diktat. The German demands for our territory in the Sudeten region have become increasingly hostile, and now their forces are massing along our border. A conference is being held in Munich where the European leaders are discussing the future of Czechoslovakia. We haven't been invited. Both the British and the French have rescinded their earlier promises to support us against the German aggression. Their diplomats have made it clear that if we choose to resist the Germans, we do so on our own. Perhaps we have no choice but to surrender the Sudeten. Now, a little background. I know some of you have watched I still think my Great German series, where I talk about this extensively. The Sudetenland, I know we're all familiar, the sort of border region that was traditionally ethnically German, as part of the Holy Roman Empire, and then later as part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but it sort of made sense to give it, in the breakup of Austro-Hungary, to give it to Czechoslovakia. And those Sudeten Germans truly overwhelmingly wanted to become part of Germany. I don't know if they were truly overwhelmingly National Socialists / Nazis. They were a member of the Sudeten Deutsches Party, Sudeten German Party, which was a National Socialist Nazi type party, but I don't know whether that they were, how ideologically pure, as opposed to just simply wanting to be part of the, shall we say, new Great Germany, as opposed to part of Czechoslovakia. So that was truly a popular, if you will, populist / democratic desire of the peoples. Those, probably some of you watching, but those of you who value democracy as sort of the height of being proper, this land should have gone to Germany. Of course, Hitler didn't just want the Sudetenland. He wanted a war with Czechoslovakia, but he wanted to make sure Britain and France, which he was entirely not ready to build at this time, and if you played any of my mods, you'll know that there was no effective Harley West wall at this point. It was at sort of level 1 and just minor, sort of still being built up in 38. And there was some, but it wasn't nearly what it becomes in time. They just were unprepared for that war. So the Germans were afraid of the French, but the French weren't going to go to war without the support of the British. So it was really up to the British. The British were convinced, or shall we say, Chamberlain was convinced that Hitler just wanted the Sudetenland and not all of Czechoslovakia. So Chamberlain called and talked to Bernays. Is that how you pronounce his name? I hope. Edward there. That basically, as it says, we're not going to support you. You should just give them the Sudetenland. And building up to this time period, like we see in modern-day Ukraine, where, as they sometimes called Putin's green men, basically Russians in Russian army uniform, but no Russian badges, meaning, oh, we've captured these guys, we've killed them. Well, they're not our troopers. They don't have any Russian badges. They don't have any ID on them. And they don't. But we all know that they're Russian army soldiers that have volunteered to go into whatever organization and fight without the backing of Russia, but just, meaning you're not part of the Russian army anymore. You're part of this infiltration army trying to stir up trouble when he grabbed the Ukraine, and is now pushing to get a bit more of the coastline, maybe here, and maybe he wants all of it. I don't know where. I think he'll take as much as he can. If we have any people that are Russian patriots, you can be a Russian patriot, but Putin's being aggressive. Okay, now that's just the deal. So Germany was doing this similar sort of thing. There was sort of a Freikorps movement, if you will, Free Corps, freelance, or, well, they were Sudeten Germans that had come over into Germany, and these are in a few thousand of them. Just guessing right here, I don't have the numbers in front of me. 3,000 plus men that have been trained by the Germans and have been doing during this time period some cross-border raids harassing the Czech military and police officials in the Sudetenland, and harassing I mean by shooting at them. So they were doing guerrilla type operations that the Germans were supporting this, and they were trying to, of course, make it look in the Czech press, in the international press, as just local Germans. Oh, somehow they got guns and they're just pissed off at the government, so they're doing it. Really, it was orchestrated by the Germans. So they're pushing this. And Hitler, because he, obviously in real life, unlike now, the Spanish Civil War is still going. He has about 300 or so ground troops and a few thousand Luftwaffe personnel, a lot of ground, aircraft mechanics and ground support men, but not in combat in Spain. But that's not really a real war. Now, for Germany, Italy had about 3 divisions at this time in Spain, actual Italian divisions fighting under the Italian flag. So they were getting trained up, and of course they had their training war to show how great. Of course, it didn't turn out to be so great, but trying to show how great the new Italian army was in Ethiopia. Hitler wanted a similar sort of thing to show how great his new army was to the rest of Europe. That was Hitler's goal. And to train it up to see how well it worked and all this stuff. So he wanted his war with Czechoslovakia, but without, like I was saying, France and Britain. Now he got cheated out of this when Chamberlain talked Bernays out of resisting and giving in the Sudetenland. Now we're going to give Hitler what he wants. We're going to give and now is I've built some level 1 forts here. Well, okay, none of us are right in this. These numbers, they're not correct. They're, shall we say, educated guesses of how much, as I was talking earlier, how much the fortification translates from real world into game world here. So like this, where I built one, again, maybe somebody who's done good study of the fortifications to know that this was a weak spot and there shouldn't be any forts here, or maybe that's just a mistake. I don't know. So I would normally go with somewhere around in the 3 to 4 level range of fortification, but again, that's just what I would do. So I know I'm wrong, and I know they're wrong, because it wasn't a standard 6 all along, because not all the fortifications are equal everywhere. We're just all guessing. Maybe somebody's, like I say, have done good educated guesses on this. But once Austria becomes part of Germany, this whole flank, even if it was fortified up properly, just extends the Czechoslovakian border that much more. It is over a, as you can see here, we're here, okay, these are just also sort of hills, but it's actually a little bit more. These are more sort of plains into Czechoslovakia. And if any of you have ever heard of, and maybe a few of you Czechs have, my friend George 1941 probably has, although I don't know if they call it by that, now I'm thinking of it, the Potato War. Anyone ever heard of the Potato War? Well, that was the last war of Frederick the Great. It was the Potato War. This land was under Austrian rule. This was in the sort of early middays, so without dates in front of me, I have trouble remembering them, but of the American Revolution. So let's say 1777 or 1778, somewhere around, maybe before that, maybe 76, I don't know. Frederick the Great's last big push to try to get Bohemia, and he's now a rather old man leading this war. Several columns are trying to march into Bohemia. The Austrian army is motivated or mobilized out of Vienna and regions and moved to counter it. And there were, in the classic sense, no battles for this war. And that I mean like Waterloo, Austerlitz, Blenheim, all those, big clashes of army, big battles. There was none of that. What there was a fair amount of maneuvering, and a lot of the Freikorps types on both sides, on the Austrians and the Germans, and if you know about the 18th century type Freikorps, sort of raiding parties, the Hungarian Hussars type troops were battling along the mountain passes here, and so they were that's where I started this, a bit more than these sort of gentle hills, but not quite the alpine snowy caps either, from my understanding, outside of winter. And so that they were, Prussia's armies were trying to move in. Well, there were supply shortages, and where most of the fighting was these skirmish type fighting. I mean, people were dying and they were shooting each other, but these were small skirmish fights going on. And a lot of them were over foraging parties going out trying to dig up potatoes, and the other side ambushing the foraging parties. That's why it's become known, at least from an English history names, the Potato War. So that was sort of the last war of Frederick the Great, and then trying to get Bohemia back. And Frederick the Great became a really big admirer of General George Washington, particularly after Valley Forge, and even, I forget, the winter after was even worse than Valley Forge, but that he was able to maintain an army through the winter, through adverse times, and having to retreat out of, like, New York and several other places that he retreated out of in face of the British, but maintained the structure of his army. And Frederick the Great thought, this is obviously, he's reading reports, whatever they are, whether they're just newspaper reports or whether von Steuben type people were sending back more detailed written reports. I don't quite know, but from what he was hearing was that Washington, not that he was such a great general in crushing the British, but that through very adverse conditions he was able to maneuver his army out of traps, and that he thought was a mark of a truly brilliant general, and he's one to know. So that's it. So we will give Hitler his training war. So this is going to be a very short series. Let's see how long we can last. Okay, now I sort of like this in that. Okay, another pause. The Munich Diktat. Now, just sort of my opinion. One mod, and I think Black Ice would get a wiggle for it. I really like. Does period news headlines like this for a bunch of different countries, like for, I don't know if they use like the London Times for English and whatever for France and whatever. I just hate this, but if we're going with the period news style, why did we colorize these images? I can go into more on that when we play some more Black Ice, but we should have just kept it with the newspaper style all the way through. Okay, the German demands for the Sudeten border territory in Czechoslovakia, which is home to a considerable German minority. Well, it's a majority in there, but it is considerable. It's a minority within Czechoslovakia, true. Have intensified recently. At the summit held in Munich, Germany, Britain, France, Italy sought to find a diplomatic solution to the so-called Sudeten crisis. While Britain and France have both accepted the German demands as reasonable, Czechoslovakia, which wasn't invited to the conference, has refused to yield an inch. It now faces Germany alone in what appears to be a hopeless battle. Yes. Now, the TRE version, based on the Hearts of Iron 4 version for Black Ice TRE, but the new TRE version for this conference setup that I've coded up allows the British players to decide whether they want to go human. If it's a human playing Britain, will allow them to enter, the war, and it's coded so that the AI, so that I think it's like 80 or so percent, maybe 90, but 80 or 90% of the time for the British to give in at the conference and let Germany have it. But for the German player, there is a chance that the war could break out, and which would then really be interesting, and which I would find that this much more interesting if we also had Britain and France in this war at this time. But we don't, so we're going to go with this. Now, okay, so I do like that they've redone some of the air zones. So let's put all of these up over eastern Czechoslovakia. Fighters, bombers, ground support. And I also like that it doesn't automatically sort of start the war off. Because is that everybody? Any other? What's the rest of our air? Okay, we have some more fighters. Might as well use them. And as you can see, also show. I've upgraded the Czech divisions to have engineers, which will help them greatly in defense, and anti-air, which will help deal with the air, but they also give some tank killing ability. So, not great, but they're improved. I mean, everything else is pretty weak. So this is going. Don't know exactly how long they're going to take to justify. Okay. Claim. Let's see. We have this. Okay, we've got this general. As you can see, I've done a little bit of improving in Czechoslovakia. Now that wars here are going to be here. Reorganization rate. I don't think attrition would be nice to reduce, but let's help our defense. And also, let's see. Let's just field every division we can. Way too soon. Even have trained ones. War's coming, we want our divisions. Okay. Join a mobile army. Reinforced with 2 divisions there. It's not that far, you can walk there. That's the weak spot, those are weak there. Let's move those there. Yeah, we got low manpower, big deal. We need every division we can get. Might as well attach these to here. 2 divisions into there. But you can see the AI, German AI is doing a fairly decent job in preparing for war. That's seeing that it's coming. Now that's 3 divisions. That, oh, well, maybe they're going to shift. Now that's the other thing with the AI. It's still not yet ready to make good decisions and stick to them. The AI also, now I haven't been looking too much at, and it's changed often from what I've been looking at, but the 1.3.2 is changed even more, and some of the games I played, whatever versions, they are, not going into too much of that, but I've seen the Czech AI to maybe put a division or something in here or whatever, mostly stick their divisions here and here. Even more so once the if they accept the Sudetenland, because it's even more, because they see this as a pocket now. They don't want to be pocketed. Well, that's the capital. That's where the pocket should be, and not try to do it down here, because you're not going to win. But so you might see the AI do that. Also, we don't have the SOS, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's the initials, but what the initials stand for that in Czech. Okay, we're going to keep this episode short, so thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. We'll see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.